It's time for the RMAC Radio Show, featuring all the latest information from around the Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference. The RMAC is a proud member of NCAA Division II. Now, here's your host, Eric Danner.
Welcome to the RMAC Radio Show. My name is Eric Danner. Got a big show planned for you today as we head down the home stretch in basketball. In this first segment, we're going to talk with Latricia Trammell, the head women's basketball coach at Western State College. Then we're going to talk with Jonathan Morse, the RMAC Academic Player of the Year in men's basketball. He's from Metro State. And we'll wrap things up with Scott Kretzman, the sports information director at Adams State College. A big weekend that just happened as Danny Woodhead, RMAC alum, former RMAC Offensive Player of the Year a couple times, RMAC Player of the Century back in 2009, playing for the New England Patriots, actually scored a touchdown for the Patriots that put them in the lead just before halftime, at 4 catches for 42 yards, also rushed the ball 7 times for 19 yards, but did not get that elusive Super Bowl ring. Did a little bit of research, thought he might have been the first RMAC player to score a touchdown in the Super Bowl, but Tony Martin, who played at Mesa State back in the late 1980s, he was a quarterback, then went on to be a wide receiver in the NFL, played for the San Diego Chargers in their Super Bowl against the Niners, scored a touchdown in that one, also went on to play for the Atlanta Falcons. Don Beebe, for those, I get this question quite a bit, Don Beebe also played at Chadron State, but that was prior to their joining the RMAC. He played in 6 Super Bowls and did win one with the Green Bay Packers back in 1996. So now that we've got that out of the way, actually a couple more football notes before I jump into basketball here. Jay Long, named head football coach at Chadron State College. Most recently, he was at Black Hills State, former Chadron State football player, and that meant Black Hills State, which we now consider a member of the RMAC in football because they started up here in 2012-13. They named John Reiners their head football coach. Coach Reiners, an old friend of the RMAC, a friend of the radio show and the TV show. He was the track and field coach at Chadron State prior to Ryan Bailey taking over 3 years ago. So Coach Reiners, congratulations to him, new head football coach at Black Hills State. Going to start things off here with women's basketball. Going to run down the standings here real quick. Fort Lewis now in sole possession of first place in the RMAC with a 15-1 conference record, as Metro State was upset this past weekend by Colorado Christian. Second time the Cougars have beaten the Roadrunners, and Christina Whitelaw in that lone game this week. She's our RMAC Offensive Player of the Week, brought to you by Baden. Scored 27 points for CCU in that upset win over number 3 ranked Metro. And then actually on the Monday game had a triple-double, I think, or third or fourth of the year. So Christina Whitelaw having an outstanding sophomore season. CSU Pueblo also at 14-2. Pueblo and Fort Lewis will be playing this weekend, so that'll be definitely one to watch if you're watching some RMAC basketball. Western State now at 10-7 in the RMAC. They're tied with Colorado Christian at 10-7. Then we got Chadron State, Colorado Mines, New Mexico Highlands, Colorado Mesa, UCCS, Regis, Adams State, Nebraska Kearney. It's a real log jam as we head down the home stretch here, and there's 7 teams within a game of each other. So it really means something as we head down the last couple weeks of the season. Western New Mexico at 0-17 rounds out the standings. And joining us now on the RMAC hotline is the head coach of the Western State Mountaineers. Her name is Latricia Trammell. Coach Trammell, how's it going today?
Good, Eric. How are you?
I'm doing great, Coach. Thanks for doing the sprint from your meeting to your office to get on the show today. Always good to have the extra effort from the coaches. And 10-7 here, Coach. This is kind of a wacky year in RMAC women's basketball. We got 3 teams that have clearly separated from the pack in Fort Lewis, Metro, Pueblo. Then you got yourselves, Colorado Christian, Chadron State, kind of trying to get in that mix. And then there's a tie, if you will, 7 teams within a game of each other trying to get in that RMAC tournament. You ever seen anything like that?
Well, that's something about our conference. I mean, I'm really proud to be a part of the RMAC. There's a great group of coaches. They've assembled a great teams, And any given night, you said it was a cliche that every game counts, but it does in our conference. I mean, you've got to come out ready to play, and it doesn't surprise me that it's this way. Because if you think about it, it's usually neck and neck along the way, and especially during this time. And so, again, we're just trying to take one game at a time and do the best that we possibly can.
Talking with Latricia Trammell, a couple great cliches right there, Coach.
Yeah, thank you.
You have Western New Mexico Highlands coming to Gunnison this weekend. Here you are in your fourth year. I know that first recruiting class you had, Brooke Pendergraft comes to mind, and so this is your first full group here at Western State that are the group of freshmen you first had were now seniors. In your fourth year, is this what you kind of expected? Where you expected Western State to be at this point in time?
Well, we how society is anyway. We always want more, but I am proud of where we are right now. We don't try to talk about that we have a group of seniors because usually someone cries at that process. But again, I was expecting the leadership that I'm getting from the 6 seniors that I have. And you mentioned Brooke Pendergraft, obviously Nikki Trujillo, some of those players that have been here 4 years. And so that I did expect, the leadership, because they want it really bad, and they're practicing like they want it, even here in February. And so that part I did expect. But again, we just want to take one game at a time. We want to do the best that we possibly can and hopefully make it to the shootout for the 4th year in a row. That's what our main goal is right now.
Talking with Latricia Trammell, head women's basketball coach at Western State. You mentioned Nikki Trujillo averaging 15 points per game to lead the team. Pendergraft also in double figures. And then Katie Hall having a great year, averaging almost 13 points a game, leading the league in rebounding, double-figure numbers in rebounding. That would, I guess, qualify as a big three, Coach. Is that kind of how you look at your team, is you have your big three and then you have a lot of role players who step in, or how do you look at it?
Well, no, I think everyone matters on this team. We actually just got out of practice and we talked about that. It's going to take every one of us. Of course, we want that leadership and we want our shooters to shoot and our drivers to drive. And but everyone, anything that anyone does that's on that floor, it counts and it matters. And so I don't really like to look at it as role players because I think everyone has an opportunity, but you do have your leaders, and I expect them to lead.
Talking with Latricia Trammell, head women's basketball coach at Western State. Mountaineers host Western New Mexico on Friday at 6 p.m. New Mexico Highlands on Saturday, also at 6 p.m. And as we head down the stretch here, Coach, you're sitting in 4th place in the conference in a tie with Colorado Christian, a team that you played earlier in the year. And I'd have to get out my rule book and my abacus to figure out how the tiebreaker,
points, right?
how that tiebreaker works. But I guess the best way to take care of that is just to win.
Just to win. Yeah. Yeah, that's the biggest thing. The girls were asking me about, since we're getting down to 5 games left, of what happens if we're tied or in sole possession of 4s, who plays who, in the first spot, in the 8th spot. And so I was trying to explain it to them, but, right in the middle of that conversation, I just said, hey, I'm going to stop this now. All we have to do is take care of us and do the best we can, try to win, every game that we come against, and then we don't have to worry about it. So that's the kind of focus that we have right now as a team.
Talking with Latricia Trammell, 4th-year head coach at Western State. And, Coach, it is, something to look at, though, as far as that tie right now with Colorado Christian, because you've been around the league long enough. I remember it might have been your first year or second year when you went to Fort Lewis when they had a great team, and you nearly knocked them off in the first round. But as far as having a possible home game in the first round, that's got to be, I imagine, one of your goals from the very beginning of the season.
Oh, it is. I mean, yeah, we definitely set the team goals that we have for our season, and we broke it down into conference. And obviously that's something that we would love to have happen here, because I know it probably hasn't happened here in a very long time. And so that is our focus. But that's several games down the road, and like I said, we just got to worry about Western New Mexico on Friday, and then Friday we've got to worry about, after the game, got to worry about New Mexico Highlands on Saturday. And if we do that, I especially with this team, I think that we have a good shot of hopefully hosting the game, if not getting into the playoffs.
Talking with Latricia Trammell, and you had kind of a wild weekend this past
It was.
weekend, Coach, as you guys were in Nebraska. Everybody always thinks, well, when you go to Gunnison, you're going to get the bad weather, but knock on wood, hopefully that doesn't happen in the near future here. And you go to Nebraska and you had to play Sunday when you originally scheduled to play Saturday. How did you handle that trip?
Well, we're used to that, but I kept making the comment, I cannot believe Nebraska has more snow than Gunnison. That was something that we couldn't believe. Now, I'm not complaining about it, but that's something that was really different. But we did the best that we could. I mean, I'm glad that we scheduled the game on Sunday. When we were traveling, we only could go an hour outside of Shadron due to the weather and spend the night and then drive on in the next 5 hours. But we passed 12 cars that were on their sides. And it was really bad. So, again, I'm glad that we made the decision to stop and not to try to battle the weather and play that game on Sunday. And I think since we focused on that, we did get a little rest, and I'm sure that Kearney did too. But again, it's safety first when it comes to the young ladies and the young men on both programs. And I'm just proud of our administration for talking it over and I feel made the best decision.
Well, hey, Coach, we're thankfully, everybody was safe. We had some games played on Monday, some games on Sunday, and
Right.
I think at the end of the day, everybody, all the right decisions were made. So we're glad that happened. And Coach, we want to thank you for taking some time out to join us today, and good luck the rest of the way.
Well, we appreciate you very much, and looking forward to seeing you again.
All right, thanks, Coach. That is Latricia Trammell, the head women's basketball coach at Western State in Gunnison, and she's done a great job in her 4 years there, as they're on the cusp of making another RMAC tournament. As she mentioned, it would be their fourth in a row, and I'm sure they would like to be a home team if possible this year. And for more on what's going to be happening this weekend, let's head over to Chris Polton at the RMAC Sports Desk.
Thanks, Eric. Colorado Mines officially has a gap now between themselves and Metro State. The Ore Diggers completed the season sweep on Monday and have won their last 7 games. This weekend, there's only one contest for the Ore Diggers. Colorado Christian visits Lockridge Arena on Saturday night. The Cougars enter at 2-15 and looking to set off the spoiler alert. Metro State is now 2 games back of Mines. The runners look to shake off the rust this weekend with the Nebraska schools coming into downtown Denver. Friday night, Shadron State enters at 8-9 in a 4-way tie for the 7th spot. Nebraska Kearney only holding a half-game lead on the 4-spot hit-up Auraria Event Center on Saturday night. Adams State is in 3rd place in the RMAC with a 12-4 conference record. The Grizzlies hit the road for 2. UC Colorado Springs at 6-10 is the Friday night opponent. Then Saturday night, ASC heads south for a game with CSU Pueblo. The T-Wolves at 7-9 sit a half game out of the 7th spot. Fort Lewis has risen in the conference standings at a half game out of the 4th spot. The Skyhawks hit the road to CSU Pueblo on Friday night. Then it's UCCS on Saturday. Colorado Mesa sits at 9-8 with 3 weeks left. The Mavs host 2 in Grand Junction this weekend. New Mexico Highlands, the first opponent, enter the weekend at 8-9 and look to catch their hitch in the closing weeks. Saturday night, Western New Mexico and RMAC Player of the Month, Chad Carter, invade the Mavericks. The Mustangs holding an 8-9 record. Western State, also at 8-9, has 2 chances at home to improve their playoff seed. WNMU on Friday night. Then it's Highlands on Saturday night. Regis University looks to build off their win over CCU as they host Nebraska Kearney and Chadron this weekend. You can watch your favorite schools play on America One. I'm Chris Polton, and that's your men's basketball update.
Thank you, Chris. When we come back, we're going to talk with Jonathan Morse, the RMAC Men's Basketball Academic Player of the Year. You're listening to the RMAC Radio Show.